Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Beckton and I'll be your roundtable host this evening. We have two awesome conservative creators joining us to discuss all the crazy things that have gone on this week. And I'll introduce them shortly. But first, I wanted to take a second to tell you about Povey. Povey.tv is the next generation live streaming platform for a new generation of politics. I'm one of the co-founders, and I founded Povey because I love political discourse, especially live. But all too often, I found myself in toxic echo chambers or walled gardens. So we built the place for everyone of all political perspectives to come together live. We not only want to create a better home for politics online, but also want to depolarize the conversation at scale via transparency. We see polarization and partisanship as one of America's largest challenges. So we're applying research backed principles and features to bring people closer together. We're in closed alpha mode right now, so if all that interests you, please go to povey.tv and drop in your email. We'll be launching to the public in just a few weeks. But enough about us. Let's meet the people you came here for. Truth12, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about your political perspective.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Becton, for doing this. This is a great platform, great opportunity. I'm very, very honored to be here again. Um, Coming from a generally right wing standard, I think, mainstream right wing background. Happy to explain more as we go, but I think we'll leave it there.
Awesome, man. So, yeah, JT, go ahead and take a minute to introduce yourself and talk about your perspective as well.
Yeah, I'm JT. Conservative, classically conservative. Always have been since elementary school, or as far back as I can remember, anyway. And I started my YouTube channel like a decade ago, but started really getting into more or less social commentary and politics and conservative politics. In general. And yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, Becton, and glad to be here and kind of just chopping it up, giving my opinion and whatnot. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, as y'all probably know, the Supreme Court had many landmark decisions this week, from executive power to birthright citizenship. But let's talk about the bombshell that was the birthright citizenship decision. What do we think about it? How do we think kind of the interesting split of the justices came up, and what does this mean kind of for the future of the Supreme Court? Truth, if you want to go ahead and start us off, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, interesting case. I don't have a legal background, but I think it's an interesting case. Sort of, even from the conservative perspective, I think you could kind of call it both ways. Sort of from an originalist perspective, to me, it's obvious that you know the founding fathers would never have created a situation in which you'd have millions of people suddenly eligible to become citizens just by breaching our country's borders, having a baby, and even leaving, and that child being a United States citizen just automatically. I don't think you can make the case that anyone would create a country with the hope that that would become a reality. On the other hand, a strict reading of the 14th Amendment, which may be helpful at some point to pull up, I think you could also make the case that just by the strict wording of it, although there's one clause subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that's sort of where it all comes down to. But just based on the strict reading of it, I think you could also make the case that anyone born on American soil is a U.S. citizen just by nature of that. With that being said, I do think it's a big problem that the ruling came out this way. I think it's going to create, as Justice Thomas said, a very, very bad cascading series of events for the future. I think it incentivizes people to come here illegally. I think it incentivizes them to have kids through that illegal process on our soil. And I think it incentivizes people to come here from all over the world. And there was a case a couple months back with a Chinese couple that came over to Arcadia, California, where the mayor has now been revealed as a Chinese spy. And this couple was having like 20, 25 kids through all these surrogate mothers. And basically, we still don't really know the full story there, but any of those kids would be eligible under this ruling as U.S. citizens now, as well as, in theory, down the line, their kids and so on and so forth, no matter what, no matter how potentially problematic that their background, their origin was. And this is a widespread phenomenon now. Peter Schweitzer just wrote a whole book about it, which you guys may be familiar with. But I mean, my personal view is I think the ruling was the majority ruling, the majority 5 count vote in favor of upholding it was the wrong one.
Oh, my go. Honestly, it's kind of a deep issue, really, and I kind of see it from a multitude of different angles. If you're a business person, you probably secretly, quietly in the back room, yes, yeah. Because this is basically, it guarantees that there will always be cheap labor in America. I mean, as simple as that. And I've made the case on my channel that, our country is basically founded on cheap labor. One could make an argument that slavery was about cheap labor. And then when slavery was abolished, they started importing starving Irishmen for cheap labor. And then when Europeans no longer wanted to come here and be treated like they were, well, then they hatched a new plan. Well, we're gonna trick women into thinking that slaving away in some factory is the better choice, the more the better choice for her life. So they basically tricked our entire population of women into abandoning their happy homes and happy lives to go work in manufacturing or work in offices for, even if it was equal with men's, which I don't want to argue that, but if it is, it most likely, they did it to get cheaper labor, and even if it wasn't to take advantage of the women straight up, it definitely depressed wages across everybody in the whole entire country suffers when it makes cheap labor. Basically the business people in America have never had to ante up and pay. And I am a conservative. I mean, I don't want me to come across like, I'm talking about socialism or communism, but they refuse to allow the natural market forces to assert themselves. So they just keep pumping the system with people that are coming from worse circumstances or whatever circumstances. They bring them here, and they're taking advantage of Americans because our wages are being depressed by people who were not born here and who, or their kids are born here. And also the fact that this is a Supreme Court ruling, it doesn't scare me, but it worries me because it was already, we could not, Trump is the first politician I've ever seen that questioned any of this stuff immigration wise. And the last time we had a serious look at immigration was just after World War II with Ike Eisenhower and Operation Wetback. And it seems like maybe that was the genesis of all this, that the businessmen said, whoa, we can't just have crazy presidents, like having successful immigration policies, like, this costs us too much, so they did a lot of lobbying and investing, and they get the ear of every politician, say, hey, look, you got to fix this. We don't like having to worry about this. And it took over half a century before any politician or any president actually put their money where their mouth was and brought it up. Like, how often does this stuff come up for a vote? And this time it got slapped down. So we may never get to vote on this again, ever. Ever. It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. And this is like I just barely scratched the surface of what I see as like trouble on the horizon. I mean, and for those of us that actually care, that are, care about this country and actually want our kids to have a future, and that want to, have a good idea of what that future is going to look like, this is like not good. And it really does kind of put the fear of God into me when I see half of our country just go right along with the establishment line. Like, they believe that these cities, oh, empathy, we want to give these people a better life. They actually believe that Los Angeles wants to give Mexicans a better life. No, it wants to quasi enslave them, indentured servitude, like they did with my great, or however many back that came to this country from Scotland. He came as an indentured servant at 12 years old. And I see these people, they believe the empathy thing. I would submit that nothing has changed. Nothing. They perfume it up, they mask the stink of what they're doing with these potpourri laws. And then half of our population is fool enough to buy it, to swallow it. And honestly, I kind of feel not sad, but just like, like this is gonna be tough. you know. Anyway, that's what come to mind when you bring that up.
I think a lot of agreement so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you guys, so let me say this, I guess, right? I guess the coming from an independent perspective, the one thing I do say that I'm honestly somewhat surprised that 4 justices actually voted against it is just due to the 14th Amendment. All right, and of course, this depends on what reading you take of the Constitution, right? Are you textualist or you originalist, right? But what do you guys think about kind of how the conservative wing of the court appears to have almost split into 2 different components? At least this case seems to have laid that bare to us.
I mean, I think you have. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's split. I think you had one defector from that conservative wing, which is Barrett. And Roberts has always been, from my perspective, having followed the court, we never really rely on him for anything. After all these years, he's been a big disappointment. Barrett has been a disappointment too at various times. This is one of those times. I think, her ruling, her vote came down to sort of that very literalist reading that I talked about earlier of what the 14th Amendment actually strictly says, which of course is not even what anyone thinks it means. If you're born in an embassy here somewhere to a diplomat, you're not an American citizen. And that itself invalidates the argument that the 14th Amendment literally applies to every single case. That's where that subject to the jurisdiction thereof comes from. If someone runs in here from El Salvador, has a baby, leaves, goes back to El Salvador, and then comes and a couple months down the line says, my kid's an American citizen, therefore you have to let me and my whole family of 20 people in. I mean, that's bullshit, but that is kind of where we are now. So.
Yeah, he's absolutely right about that. I mean, honestly, how it comes off to me is our Constitution isn't protecting us. It's like an Albert. It's actually doing it doesn't protect the American people. No, it protects everybody else. Anybody on the planet, if they want to be an American citizen, boy, they just come here on a visa when their wife is 9 months pregnant, and boom, their kid has the assurance and the stability of a lifetime. They always have a plan B. But none of us can just I can't go to Russia. I can't go to Iran or to the EU or China or Japan and just go with my wife, she gives birth and it's like, oh, I just, I lucked out, or, I appreciate that, fellas. I thank you for letting me into your culture and your society, regardless of the damage I might be wrought by my existence there. It just, the Constitution is supposed to protect the American people. It's not supposed to protect everybody else from the American people. Like, what's the point? And I submit it this, like, if they're going to keep using our Constitution as a noose to put around our neck, how long is it? I mean, it's like, well, if that's how they're going to use it, well, then why wouldn't we be justified in destroying it or moving on from it? Because make no mistake, that's exactly what's being done here, and we can't do anything about it because they ruled on it. It's in the Constitution, and the judges, they ruled on it. So that means that, that's the I mean, and what he was saying about the interpretations and stuff, they wrote everything down in the Constitution because it's supposed to be strictly adhered to. There really isn't supposed to be interpretation. And they put all this other literature, the Federalist Papers and stuff is included. We know what they thought and what they wanted. But and this isn't the first time they've done this. It's like it's being used as leverage against us. It's not being used to protect us, being used to hurt us. And Amy Coney Barrett, I mean, I honestly, it's like I kind of thought, I assumed she would be a good judge, but in retrospect, I was kind of foolish. We all know that the judges have always been known for this what they call evolving. Oh, the judge has evolved. That happened all throughout the 20th century, where the judge just magically evolves. They get put on the court, a lifetime court appointment, and then all of a sudden they flip on a dime. They just flip on a dime. And Clarence Thomas, he's an exception. Gorsuch, I believe, is an exception. I believe Kavanaugh kind of waffled on this one too. I believe so. But it's like we've lived with this forever. Even Sandra Day O'Connor, even she upheld what was it, affirmative action, and she was supposed to be this hardcore conservative. And it's like, I've heard it, and it's like I don't even want to hear that stuff anymore. But really, it's like, what did we expect? Amy, when she's a Catholic, and then you look at, she has an adopted child from Africa. It's like, how we ever thought that this woman could be trusted on a birthright citizen case. And I just feel like, honestly, it just feels like I have been seriously injured as an American citizen. I mean, seriously. And it's almost like we have no recourse. There's almost no way that we can seek regret or redress for these grievances. We just have to live with anchor babies, I guess. I mean, that's what they're essentially telling us with the Supreme Court ruling. And it's like, it's you can only use these law, the laws, this parchment as a a tool, or for so long before people recognize it rightly as a jackboot on their neck. And it just, my main takeaway is that why is the Constitution being used as a bludgeon to beat me over the head with? What the heck? And we didn't get to vote on this? So much for the sacred democracy. Anyway.
Yeah, it did. I guess kind of one last thing on this topic I was curious about from y'all was, do you think that, obviously we heard your opinions on the ruling, that you very much dislike it, both of you, pretty in agreement on that. What do you think about, like, are there effective kind of tools of policy, other ways to minimize this that will actually work, or is this truly just something that would have to be revisited with a better court composition or something else in the future?
It's a pretty bad one. I don't see a way around it right now, but I think, to the extent that there's any silver lining over the last couple of years when it comes to immigration, the Trump administration has been the best in my lifetime and going back probably many decades in terms of what I think every American really supports on or the vast majority, I believe, which is a secure border. Then you can go from there and say, well, who should we admit? How many people should we admit? Maybe the answer is nobody. Maybe the answer is some people through a legal process. But I think you start from that point, that square one point of we have to have control of the border before we can make any decisions about it. Otherwise, just chaos, just anarchy. It's millions and upon millions and upon millions. What we saw under Biden, uh, not a hypothetical. So I think that the good news there is, we'll see how long it can be. It can be kept up in the future, but the good news there is we finally have a handle on the border, which was, in my opinion, under Biden, a catastrophe.
Yeah, that somehow doesn't really it doesn't really give me much comfort. It's not much of a consolation prize as far as I'm concerned. The whole point of the border wall was so that we didn't have to worry about this anymore. It was so because really the worry now is, okay, yeah, we have we have a conservative or somewhat conservative president now that has been good on the border, at least so long as he's been in office. But it's like, what happens when he gets out of office? What then? It's like back in the back from the frying pan into the fire. Is that forever our lot? Forever, worried in fear of being replaced, in fear of all of the crimes. I don't want to be vulgar, graphic about it, but all the crimes that are taking place against our children, our daughters. Uh, like we have to worry about that, until the end of time, apparently. I mean, and when it comes to policy, I mean, there is something that could be done, but it's just as temporary and just as infirm as Trump being in office now. I mean, they could tighten up on visas. I heard somebody say, I mean, yeah, they could tighten up on visas. They could make it to where we don't let women that are pregnant come here. We just don't give them a visa. Like, no, you can't get on a plane to come here. You're pregnant. What do you might just dip out of you might just take off from the airport and then just show up on a pop-up. Oh, I'm pregnant all of a sudden, calling an ambulance, come get me. And I mean, because even like FIFA right now, we have a national men's team that's doing pretty great in the World Cup. Their star player, who which actually he wasn't supposed to play, but he's going to play tomorrow. Star player, his mom, he was born here. The only reason why he was eligible, his parents are Nigerian. He was born here because his mother was pregnant and they would not allow her to fly because she was so pregnant. She was like 9 months and they were like, yeah, we can't let you fly. So his mom was, but they went to England as soon as he was born, and that's where he grew up. But he was he like he's a citizen when his parents were just passing through. This is absurd. This is close to insanity. I mean, you ask any serious country how they feel about it. China, Japan, any serious country. But really, this stuff is kind of moot, though, because in the end, what I said about businesses, that's what counts. America has always been the business where if you want to be a business, this is where you come to run a business. If you want to have a business, this is the best place in the world. So, and they mean to keep it that way. Keep it so that, anybody they never have a shortage of labor, and, if they can always continually bring people in. And I think honestly, I'm starting to feel like maybe we're not seeing things for what they are, seeing our country for what it is. Because we've all heard this country is not just an economic zone. This country is a homeland. This country is this, that, and the third. Maybe it's us who's mistaken. Maybe it's us who doesn't understand the reality of America. I'm starting to get to that point where I think everything else that's kind of the illusion, the dream that they sell us, when really and truly, I think it is an economic zone. And I think that we really don't actually matter. I mean, all that much. I know that it's not a positive way of looking at it, but it's just like dollars and cents. Like, let's be real here. Why is it that they do this stuff and with almost no input from us. Who told Biden he could open the border? What the hell? How does that? What you? I mean, you could a Chinese. Who knows? Who knows the people coming? They're letting in. I mean, they're inviting them for sure. Those huge trains of people looking for a better life. That's not people that are just like winging it, hoping for the best after a 1,000-mile journey. No, those are people that have been sold something, who have been told, like, they're making these cross the world journeys. And that doesn't just happen randomly. And it just seems to me like, and they pretended like it wasn't happening. Same thing going on in Europe. They pretended like it wasn't happening. And all this, it just seems like, they tell, oh, in the democracy, you're the boss and this and that. And it's like, well, show me where on earth, where do you guys, I don't see what you guys are talking about here. I don't really seem to have much input at all. I mean, yeah, I can choose the face of the guy, the figurehead, but that seems to be, the extent of it, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you do bring up a good point. America is actually one of the most, along with a lot of other countries in the Americas, right? It's one of the most permissive on birthright citizenship. A lot of other countries, there's some other countries that have it, like Australia, right, requires the parents to actually be legal residents, which, yeah, Balogun would not have been on the U.S. men's national team had that been in effect. Or sometimes they require the parents to be born there. So it not an anomaly in the world, but it is definitely kind of out there. Truth, unless you had any other thing on this, I kind of wanted to move on to there was some other big cases in the Supreme Court. We can't talk about all of them, otherwise we'd be here all night. But I was particularly interested by the executive power rulings and the somewhat seemingly contradictory ones, with Slaughter and Cook, right? So, the president can fire, independent regulatory agency leaders, but except when it comes to the, Federal Reserve governor, right? When there's a pending lawsuit playing out, okay, well, we can't fire her. I mean, what's your guys' take on that?
I mean, I started the last round. I don't know if JT wants to jump in.
Well, honestly, I hadn't really looked into that part, but it's funny that you mention it because the one branch or the one group of people that that the president can't fire, just so happens to be part of the Federal Reserve. They just so happen to be the financial sector's plants, the businessmen. Those are the only ones that he can't fire. Are the ones that are captains of industry, or at least they're the toadies of the captains of industry. Yeah, figures. And it's right in line of what I've been talking about. Like, oh yeah, the president, he has the executive power to do anything he wants, except mess with the business, with the people that are planted there by the bankers and the businessmen. Like, bro, I really don't even have to sell this stuff. It kind of sells itself. All I got to do is kind of just give you the the points, and the rest of it makes it, for everything you've heard your whole life. You're like, oh, geez, that really resonates. That rings a bell there. Like, goodness. I mean, that was it. If you wanted to move
No,
on.
I mean, I tend to be more supportive of executive power when it comes to the fights between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, because I think it does tie together, right? The Supreme Court just ruled on in terms of immigration, and in other cases, that seems to be where the buck stops. When the Supreme Court votes on something, that seems to be it, and no one can do anything about it. Who votes for the Supreme Court? I mean, we vote for the president. We vote for the people in Congress. Who voted for the Supreme Court? Who authorized, ultimately their decision making to be the final say? And when you look at how our country is set up, I don't believe it was ever intended to be that way. There's a lot of people that go around talking about, separate but equal branches of government. You won't find that phrase anywhere in the Constitution, and you won't even find it in the Federalist Papers. You'll find James Madison talking about coordinate branches. That doesn't mean co-equal. And nowhere does it say separate but equal branch. Nowhere does it say co-equal branches. Nothing like that. The founders didn't intend for that. It's obvious if you look at the Constitution. They put a lot, especially when it comes to decisions of, say, governance, executive governance. There's a reason the executive branch falls under the president. Now, the Cook ruling, or excuse me, the Slaughter ruling, that's in response, as you said, Beck, into a prior case regarding the president's ability to fire or not fire people. It goes back to U.S. versus Humphreys, which is, I think, from the 20s or 30s. And that case was sort of the canary in the coal mine for what came next, which is effectively a string of Supreme Court rulings that chipped away at the presidential powers, the executive branch's powers. I'm a supporter of the executive branch's ability to do things because I don't see the alternative. Supreme Court can't be, unelected shadow president. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you there on that. It does it, when Bernie Sanders and AOC are talking about oligarchy, something about that rings true. Something about that, like especially with, and I didn't think about it for, most of my life, but and I don't question Clarence Thomas and stuff, but it is odd that the guys that rule on, they have the buck stops with them. When we have a disagreement, they are the tiebreaker. They are they, when I was a kid, Al Gore, George Bush, they broke that tie. Antonin Scalia broke that tie. These guys are the ones breaking our tie, but and also you're allowed to donate money. You're allowed to just give money to them. And I truly, I think Clarence Thomas is a good man, and I just think there is an appearance of impropriety here. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not saying that he didn't. I don't believe he did anything, but it does kind of scare me that you can get to our justice. I can't pay my justice. I can't influence him. I cannot influence the Supreme Court. We don't even get to vote on them. It's not like we choose them and then they're just in there. We don't get to have a say again. No, we vote on somebody who votes or who decides, and we never know when that's going to be. So it's not like we need to get this person in there because we're going to have to decide this time. So we have this really like it just, we have almost no control over it. It's no semblance of control. We choose the guy who then could get a chance, maybe not get a chance to choose, and that strikes me as not as undemocratic. I mean, that's like, how were did Rome have anything like this when they had a republic, a true republic? Like, what other, are there any examples of this? Like, it is kind of ridiculous. And it seems like it was probably, the way when things, back when the country was first started, everything was fresh, and it was the way the founders intended it. Well, it's been 250 years since then, and all of these different institutions, they have been corrupted pretty thoroughly, I would imagine. I mean, like, it's kind of hard to imagine them not being corrupted at this point. But they're super corrupted, and it's like, but no rules really have changed. If anything, it's not like the don't giving money to justices. That's got to stop, like, ASAP. Same thing with the all this dirty money that goes into Congress, that all, like, that we hear about constantly, how all of our congressmen, all of our elected officials, are loaded to the gills with corrupt, dirty money from every corner of the globe. I mean, and there's no scruples. They're totally unscrupulous. The people they take money from, top to bottom, from every walk of life, from every strata of society. And we've seen it. Hunter Biden. I mean, he was put on the board of the Burisma in Chinese countries. I don't blame China either. They're just doing whatever they're doing what they got to do for their people. I blame our country and our politicians. And they pointed out, they say, Republicans say, look what Hunter Biden has done. When it's like, well, look what you're doing now, dude. Look at all these foreign people that are donating money to our congressmen. And then Trump's kids, like, what is going on? How are they getting away with this? How is this happening? And nobody has a peep to say about it. It's like they had something to say when it was Hunter Biden when they were trying to win election. What happened to that discussion anyway? And really, I think they're all in cahoots with it. I think it's good cop, bad cop. The Republicans are in on it 100%. They're okay with Hunter Biden getting the money. But they kind of and they play their parts. The Republicans pretend that they don't like it. And I'm sure, they're attacking Hunter Biden knowing, well, no matter what we do, Joe can just pardon his son. So we can go daggers out. We can just totally tar and feather this guy, and we don't have to worry about the law actually prosecuting him.
I will say, I think we have our first disagreement here, because I do think what Hunter Biden did, what the Democrats did and have done with taking foreign money is way worse than on the Republican side. I have to say, I wouldn't look at it as a sort of a, equally bad situation in terms of that. I think the Democrats are way out to lunch on that with Hunter Biden. Who he was involved with at the highest levels of Chinese government and military, you won't find an equivalent on the Republican side. Maybe Mitch McConnell can make that case, but even there, really no equivalent. So and I come from the perspective, and I see some people in the chat, asking what it means to be conservative or whatever I think about whatever that term means. I mean, as a conservative, as a Republican, I will say I think it means, not blurring the boundaries and calling out if the Democrats are doing something that's way worse, to a way worse degree. It's saying that, not just creating an equivalence that's not there.
I agree with you there, and I'm not trying to create an equivalence. And when it comes down to it, yeah, I voted Republican. I voted for Donald Trump, and I've been a Republican my entire life. But when it comes down to it, I really don't care about the Republican Party. If they're corrupt and they're taking money and they're doing all this corrupt stuff, I don't give a hoot in hell what party they're on. And it's like, oh, where have they done this on? And you're right to some extent, but like Ted Cruz, that guy. Have you heard some of the insane stuff he literally posted on 4th of July, our 250th anniversary? This guy posted about, he remembers this is the same in history 45th anniversary of some Israeli IDF operation. What? I mean, and a lot of Republicans are in that camp. Thomas Massey was and Marjorie Taylor Greene were like the exceptions, and you see what happened to them. And also, Trump, he goes over there and sweet talks the Arabs and whispers sweet nothings into their ears and gets $15 trillion, and, he's bragging about it, this and that. And there's no doubt and also that, and I don't really have a problem with the plane from Qatar, but it's like, bro, who are we kidding here? Not only that, all this crypto, this meme coin, this Trump coin business. Or how about the fact that his sons are on the board of this startup drone company that gets this fat government contract? I mean, come on, man. And I'm with you. I'm conservative, but it's like, dude, I think they're all bums. Conservatives less so than the Democrats. But if you trust the conservatives any more than you trust the Democrats, bro, I mean, what's
I don't know what I don't know how to respond to that other than to say I do. I do. Okay. And I think maybe we do have and I think back to, we were going to get to this later on, but the whole Middle East thing is relevant here, as you alluded to.
Yeah,
I don't want to skip around too much. But
no. Let's talk about it now. Let's get into the Iran war, because I think that was a really, pivotal issue from all sides.
Yeah. I mean, if you could, I think it's fair to criticize the decision to do it, or frankly, I'm not one of those people. I think it was perfectly legitimate. But I think the problem where people are getting mixed up is to say that it was Israel pulling us into war, something that has been said about prior wars, by the way, too. But it's no more true here than it's been in prior cases. And I don't think that, we were talking about Ted Cruz, talking about Israel. I think maybe we have our first real disagreement here, because it's kind of weird that he would post about that on the 4th of July. It's quite, odd actually, but that's Ted Cruz, but But at the end of the day, I see Israel as a country whose interests are somewhat aligned with ours, as opposed to, when you're looking at Hunter Biden, you can't say that China's interests are aligned with ours, or, whatever, however else, whatever else, Ukrainian, Romania, whatever. I mean, Israel is a country that has a lot of the same enemies we do. At the end of the day, I think it's hard to disagree with that. So my opinion would be pretty firmly on the side of, look, you can agree or not agree with what happened in Iran, whether it went well, didn't go well, was the right call, not the right call. But it's hard for me to say that was a result of some foreign influence in our government, when Trump himself said, "I pulled Israel into the war, not the other way around."
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin there. I mean, I would actually argue that I kind of think China is more aligned with us than Israel, because when you think about it, China, they they are so intertwined with our economy. They don't exist if we don't exist. I mean, they're tied to the hip more so than, well, China's tied to the hip with the whole world basically. They are the world's manufacturing. But and they can't exist without us. We can't exist without them. How much more aligned can you be? They straight up can't
I
exist
think
without
we lost
us.
Becton. I don't know if he's still on in the
Yeah, I'm
background. There
noticing.
we go.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah, we can't exist without them. We can't cut them loose. We all know this. We'd love to, but we can't. We can't cut them loose. They can't cut us loose, and they know it. A lot of, I mean, that's first things first. Like, yeah, that we have a lot going on with them. We know that
Well,
our
first of
bread is.
all, let's respond to that first of all, because you're right that they want to sell us stuff, and that we are the biggest consumer base in the world. But that doesn't mean they like us. It doesn't mean our interests are aligned. It goes against exactly cuts against what you were talking about earlier in the conversation. I mean, in a way, if you think about it, you were right then, but you're wrong now, because the same business elite influences that are trying to get us entangled with China for all these years. Not, it doesn't benefit the average person for us to have a relationship with China. We have no interest with them. They're pumping fentanyl into our country. They're stealing from us. They're spying on us. They do illegal trade practices like dumping that hurt our economy. They push counterfeit money into our country. They've long been stealing our trade secrets. We've nothing aligned with them at all. I mean, they hate our guts. We have disagreements with them over Taiwan, Japan, every last thing, Korea. I don't see any alignment there.
Well, I mean, I get how you could feel that way about it, but I would submit that a lot of those things that you were saying about China, I think a lot of those things are actually Israel. Israel, Jonathan Pollard, what he just Trump let him out. This guy stole our most valuable secrets, nuclear secrets, and sold it to Israel. And Israel put him up to it. Israel was like, bring him home to our arms. We want our precious Jonathan Pollard. They gave him like citizenship. Uh, and they always say, "Oh, we're a valuable partner. How could dare you?" They get all indignant, right? Indignant about the fact when people call them out and say, "You're a leech," and they go, "Oh, how dare you?" And it's, we're valuable. We give America tons of positive things. And when people say, "What? Name one," they they cannot name one. Zero. I can name all kinds of ways that China benefits us, that we get stuff from China. We cannot
Go ahead.
wage war without China. We can't do it.
You're saying that's a good thing?
I'm not saying what
It's a liability.
I'm not putting a value judgment on either way. Good, bad, either way, no matter what, it doesn't matter what I think. We can't wage war without them. So, and if they're our enemy, they have us by the stones. If we can't
I think
wage war
so.
without them,
I think so.
what kind of a why should they have to worry about us if we can't wage war without them? And we know that they can't wage war without us. They have there's certain resources that only we have, and they can never get,
Like what?
because like quartz, we have literally the purest quartz on the planet, the only quartz, I might add, that can make microchips, that can make high-tech microchips. We have a mine in North Carolina has the most pure quartz, and it is required to have that purity of quartz to make Intel processors, AMD processors. So they can't even make a missile without our say so. Not one. can they? I mean, they can make them with their rudimentary caveman microchips. Same with Russia, but they can't do anything without that silicon. And we're the only ones on the planet that have it. It's like 99.5% pure or something like that. So we kind of own the modern world more or less. While we have control of that mine, we have control. So, and there's a lot of other things too, but we have grown. China has grown up alongside us, whether we like it or not. They are at parity with us, bro. They grew 2.5% GDP last year. Or no, they grew 5% GDP last year. You know how much we grew, bro? 2.5% GDP. That can only happen so many years before they're way beyond us. Did you guys see like all they have robots in their 7-Elevens and stuff? Like, bro, wake up and smell the coffee. They are above us. We have to go to them cap in hand over Iran because we can't beat Iran, and they hold sway over Iran. I mean, I'd
So
have to get into it.
is your argument then that our interests are aligned with theirs, or just that they have a lot of leverage and capabilities that we don't have? The thing you said about the courts, by the way, is not true. It's actually the other way around. They make 80 to 90% of the rare earths that are used for every single last thing in our military. It's completely the opposite. But go ahead.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you brought that up. And what I'm saying is, we were the hegemon before China came about. China has built their entire society is separate from ours. They don't use the same banking structure as we do, as the rest of the planet. We control it. We don't control any of their stuff. We don't control their money. We don't control anything. But they have grown up alongside. We have a system. They've grown up alongside ours. And because we needed, cheap labor, there's that cheap labor again. We put them on. We put them on. We said, like our business owners, yeah, they wanted cheaper labor, so they shipped our jobs over there. And now we have a mutual or symbiotic relationship and we've grown to a point over the years where our economies have just become so intertwined with the modern age and all the different stuff that they build for us. But we knew we were doing that back then. Our politicians have always known it, and China knows it. And that's what I mean as they're in alignment with us because they have grown alongside us, and we put them on. We welcome them into the international business community. We intertwined our economy. We are connected to them at the hip, whether we like it or not. Why would we make an enemy of them? Why would they make an enemy of us? It doesn't
They're
make
trying pretty
sense.
hard, don't you think? Don't you think they're trying pretty hard to rub us the wrong way? I mean, do you think that they've been aligned with us in any way other than trading with us? Everything that
Well,
they've done in the world stage has gone against us. I mean, they're backing Iran against us. We're
where did
backing
you see
Iran
they said
against
that?
them.
Where did you hear they were backing Iran? And where did you get that idea?
You saying it's not true? They said they sell Iran missile fuel, and they've sold them satellite images of where our troops are. It's all out in the open. I mean, this is
Yeah,
all facts.
and what are we doing with Ukraine? We're
No,
doing the same
we're
thing with
changing the
Ukraine.
topic though, but I'm just saying that we're definitely not aligned with Russia if that's the case you're making. We're
No,
obviously lining up on opposite sides with both those countries. You can't say the
no,
same. You can't say the same for any other country in the world. We haven't had such tension to any other country in the world other than China, dating back to the Cold War, and
Iran.
we're showing down with them over. Well, I'm saying that we haven't actively gone to war with.
Well, honestly, I think that tension is just in our media. I
It's
think
not
there's
in their
actually
media.
no tension.
It's
I
no
don't think there's
tension.
any tension. I think honestly, our media and our politicians, they stoke these fires to convince everybody that this and that, they make stuff into boogeymen. But I haven't seen any evidence of China having any aggression towards us at all, ever. I mean, not in my lifetime have I ever seen that. The only way that think, or the only way I know that China is aggressive towards us, or at least I think I know, is when our politicians or our media says it. I've never seen China come out and say, we're going to attack America, or we're going to get, get into America's business and do whatever. They never have said anything like that ever. And like with Iran, they're trying, like Iran is trying, we're trying to broker a peace. Iran doesn't want to deal with us. which I don't blame them. We're not dealing very fairly with them, and they're they've traded with China in the past, so they go to China for help, and all China has sold them satellite images and decoys. Okay, what's wrong with that?
Well,
We sell
I
all
said
kinds of stuff all over the planet.
first of all, I said missile fuel. They also sell them air defenses,
Well, what's missile
missiles.
fuel though? Can it be
What is
used
it?
for other fuels? Is it jet fuel or is it specifically for missiles?
It's ammonium perchlorate. It's for missiles. It makes missiles go farther.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I mean, if you read and maybe your retort to everything I say will be that our media is making it up, but there's been plenty of reporting about how China and Russia have sold Iran satellite imagery of where our military is located to help target them. Yeah, right. They even helped give them advice how to use their drones better to kill us, which they have, unfortunately. So I'm not following you in your logic.
Well, like you were just saying, that China sold such and such Iran, goods. Well, Israel,
Not good, but
that Jonathan Pollard, why he stole our nuclear. I mean, you agree with me, right? That of this guy Jonathan Pollard, and that he
I'm
stole our
not.
nuclear
I mean,
secrets.
I'm not sure what that one case has to do with China.
Well, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yes,
That did have we
yes.
both okay. Well, you know
I mean,
why?
there's been 1,000 Jonathan Pollards that China has sent over here to steal our stuff. I can name names too. I mean, I don't know what that has to do with anything. It's not exactly equivalent. China steals our stuff every day. Our own government says that constantly. Now, you might say that they made it up. I don't know how to respond to that, but it's our intelligence community's findings. It's European intelligence findings. It's all the whole world knows about it. It's not a secret. China even admitted it. So I don't
Well,
know.
you
I
know
don't
who
know.
Israel sold those nuclear secrets to? Take a guess. Russia. They sold our nuclear secrets to Russia. So, it's like
Where did you get that from?
I forget where I got it from. I just know that is the case, that Jonathan Pollard sold our nuclear, or that gave them to the IDF, and they've done this multiple times. And I know that I doubt that we're here to get into Israel specifically, but
We
it's
we
like,
should. I mean, if you brought it
they're
up.
supposed to be our main ally, but it's like they don't really seem like an ally to me. And I know a lot of people kind of asking that question too, like, these people, they don't seem like an ally. The Jonathan Pollard, that guy, they rewarded him. They're like, oh, great, 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 come on back, and they welcome into their country. They lobbied, they spent money to get this a traitor convicted of treason, not for anything, for our nuclear secrets. That's like on the level of Rosenberg treason. And they spent money and then flew this guy to Israel in a private jet. Why are we like, that seems strange. That seems odd. What's going on there? That seems interesting to me. I'm more concerned
I mean, he served. I
with
think
a
he served
country like
30
that.
years. He served 30 years in prison here, and
No,
was
he was
ultimately
sentenced. No, he was
yeah.
sentenced to 30 years, right?
He served. I don't know the exact number. At least 15 or 20 years of prison time. I'm
He
not in
served a
favor of
long
what he
time.
did. I'm not saying that was a good thing. It was quite bad, and I oppose that. But again, Peter Lee, you can look at cases where China did the same to us. From Los Alamos, stealing our top nuclear secrets too. I mean, there's no shortage. Look up the Cox report, COX. I mean, there's a whole book. I have it. In fact, if you permit me, I'll show it to you right now.
Well, another thing I find is odd is that what about that pedophile that they caught in Las Vegas? With a pedophile caught in the act, and they let him go. They let him fly back to Israel. No consequences. This guy's in our country taking advantage of girls and possibly young boys, but taking advantage of children, and they just let him run away. Oh, run, run, fly, fly. They just let him
I
go
don't know
do
if
his
it's mirrored.
thing.
I
Like,
don't know if people can read this. It's mirrored,
it's
but
backwards.
yeah, anyone can Google it. Cox report from the U.S. Congress, a Republican. I didn't make it up. Okay.
I didn't
Now,
say you did, man. Like, you don't have to put
I'm not saying
qualifiers.
you did, but there are people in the chat that are saying stuff to the effect that the Chinese have attacked us fewer times than the Israelis. Okay.
True.
The point is,
Fact check true.
the case you're talking about, yeah, it's true. It's true, right? Okay.
Well, they did attack the USS Liberty. I'm
Yes,
unaware
yeah.
of any time that we've been at war with China ever
No.
since the Korean War.
No, China loves us. You're right. The case you're
They
talking about with
they haven't been shooting at us.
They love us. You got me there. The case you're talking about with the pedophile, I don't know. You know, you ask the United States government about that. I don't know. They let the guy leave the country. I that's not a
Doesn't that
question
seem
for Israel.
odd? Doesn't that seem
Yeah,
odd
but
to
it's not
you?
a question for Israel why they
I didn't
got
say it
allowed
was
to
a
leave.
question for Israel. What I was
Yeah.
saying was, isn't that weird that all these weird little anomalies only happen with Israel and Israeli citizens?
They don't.
Israeli citizens just come to America, commit whatever crimes they want, and they're just free to leave at any time. That seems weird.
I mean, I think you're talking about one case and extrapolating out to
But then
a
there's Jonathan
phenomenon.
Pollard.
So,
I mean,
or
it's
two
just
cases, but I'm talking about numerous cases. I mean, again, the mayor of a major city in California was just outed as a Chinese spy, but she admitted it. Even, I mean, there's also the case of the staffers in Congress, right?
what constitutes a spy? What, stealing nuclear
She
secrets or reporting back to your government of your home government?
So I think we have to simplify the conversation a little bit. We should just stick to one thing at a time. You're saying China is not threatening to us and has never threatened us and is completely aligned with us.
That's not what I said.
You're also saying on the other hand that Israel is completely against us at every turn, and
seems that way.
So those are two different arguments that have actually nothing to do with one another, but they're both completely wrong. But I think we should stick to one at a time. So go ahead. Rebecca, I don't know if you want to jump in here.
With friends like Israel, who needs enemies, right?
I mean, if you consider Israel an enemy, I don't.
I said with friends like Israel, who needs enemies?
But in that sentence, are you not saying that they're basically an enemy?
I'm saying that it's, they don't seem like a friend to me.
They seem like an enemy. I mean,
and we can treat them like a friend, but that doesn't guarantee that they're going to treat us like a friend, does it?
Again, we work with them more than almost any country in the world. They're constantly
on what?
Well, we make missiles. We co-produce missiles with them.
How do they contribute?
How does that contribute? The army just
how do they contribute?
They make the missiles that our army uses.
We couldn't do it without them.
We're not doing it without them. I mean, sure, maybe we could, but we're not. I mean, I'm just telling you. You said, how do they contribute to our defense? I'm giving you concrete examples, and then you're saying, well,
I don't know of any missile that they produce. They help us produce. I made that one up. We have factories, warehouses in Arizona that produce our Patriot missiles, I believe.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of any that Israel actually ships to us.
I've seen
our shipments arrive in Israel. I've seen those huge cargo vessels when they show up in Israel, to resupply them so they can continue doing whatever conflict they're doing at the time. But I never have ever seen or heard of an Israeli shipment to America. Not once.
It's not a shipment. We built a factory with them in Arkansas to make missiles that our army.
How is that with them? It's in our country.
It's their military is in our country making it with us for our use.
Really? and also, you don't find it weird that they've combined our armies, basically, Israel, and not only that, we pay for IDF troops retirement. Bro,
what are you talking about?
Doesn't that seem odd? The Congress just voted on it like a month ago. They voted on that bill that merged the IDF and the and our army so that it doesn't come up for a vote anymore in Congress. They did this just in the last 2 months. They've done this, and that seems rather odd to me.
You have to elaborate on that. That one I don't understand. You're saying that we paid the benefits, retirement benefits of Israeli officers?
Because the Israeli soldiers. When an Israeli soldier retires from the military, we pay for it. It comes out of ours. Like I said, they merged the two institutions basically, so that.
What was that? What was that law?
I forget what it was called. It was like a month or two ago. I could pull it up for you.
Beckton, we can't hear you.
Oh. Yep. can't hear you, Becton. Hang
Anyway, go ahead, JT.
on.
Pull it up if
Okay.
you got it. Yeah. Hey, by the way, even if that's true, although that sounds bizarre, we should keep in mind that we give money to numerous other militaries across the world. We give our missiles to Muslim countries all over the world at great expense to us. We give them to South Korea. Okay, what is this? Someone sent in a link. Section 224. I don't think that's it, Becton. But JT, go ahead. If you could find it, great. If not, fine. But either way, we should be clear here. A lot of people talk about our money that goes to Israel. We give billions of dollars to Egypt. We give billions of dollars to Pakistan. We give billions of dollars to Jordan, Arab Muslim countries. We give more to Arab Muslim countries than we do to Israel by far. So this whole thing about Israel, it makes no sense. Why focus on Israel? Why don't you complain about South Korea? Why don't you complain about Japan? Why don't you complain about Pakistan? I mean, you can certainly make the case about all those countries that you're making about Israel, right?
Yeah, well, the money that we give those countries, they're literally bribes. We're paying Egypt to not fight with Israel.
So you oppose that too.
What do you mean? I would
You
oppose
oppose
what?
you oppose the money we give to Israel too, Egypt too.
So we are bribing the rest of the Middle East to put down their arms, or we're bribing the politicians there to not fight Israel, so that Israel can just kill and murder and maim and blow up anybody they want to. No, I'm not for that. Are you?
You're saying you're against giving money to Egypt.
Yeah, I'm against giving money to Israel and Egypt, because we wouldn't need to give money to Egypt if it wasn't for Israel bombing all these countries in the Middle East. We're paying for their really Israel.
What country did Israel bomb that wasn't already attacking Israel one way or the other?
Egypt. They were
When did Israel bomb
they
Egypt? When did
they
Israel bomb
started that
Egypt?
war.
You're talking about in 1973?
Yeah.
That's it's a bit of a ways back, don't you think? By the
Well,
way, that
no,
Israel didn't
I'm
start
just
that
saying
war.
they have started these wars, and they also the Nakba. They literally like slaughtered innocent women and children in Palestine so that they could settle the land. They
That's
slaughtered
probably the
them.
worst example you could have picked. That's literally a war that Israel didn't start. They were attacked. Look it up. They were attacked on
Oh,
multiple fronts.
how they were attacked by
Yeah.
a population of people living in their home, like they were attacked by the domestic
They were attacked
population
by
of a.
Syria. They were attacked by Egypt. They were attacked
I
by
said
Lebanon.
Palestine. Palestine. That's not
But the
Syria.
Nakba that you're referring to was a war started
It
by
was a
other.
catastrophe. You don't call a war a catastrophe. Why would the Palestinians call a war that they were fighting in a catastrophe?
Because they
That makes
lost.
no sense. Oh, because they lost. So they just
Yeah.
completely deny that it
Yes.
was. I submit that's not actually what happened at all. I submit that no, the
They call
Israelis
it
just
catastrophe because
butchered
they
them
lost.
wholesale.
They
No,
lost.
they called
That
it a
was a catastrophe.
catastrophe because they were murdered by terrorists.
They lost that war. Israel didn't start that war. You could look it up. Israel did not
And
even exist for more than a week before that war began.
Israel was a group of terrorists that were blowing people up in Palestine long before it was a country, long before it was given, its charter to exist. It was like a group of, and they celebrate that. They celebrate the forget what day it is. They just celebrated like a month ago, Jerusalem Day. Yeah, they just celebrated that. And you know how they celebrate it? They run through Jerusalem as a violent mob, attacking any Muslims and Christians that they see on site. They swarm them and attack them. And I've seen it.
You see it?
I've seen the news where I've seen these people,
Where
like
have you seen it? Where have you
women,
seen that?
girls, talking into the camera, talking into the microphone, saying, "Yeah, these people, we should kill them if they're not Jewish. Yeah, we should just kill
Who
them.
got beaten
They're
up? Who
beneath
got
us."
attacked? What are you talking about?
The Palestinians, the people who lived and occupied
Who got beaten up? You
Jerusalem.
said you saw a video of it. Where's the video?
No, I'm saying I saw it was a reporter in Jerusalem on Jerusalem Day
Yeah.
talking to the Israelis that were like in a mobs, basically, yelling
But
and
you just said that you saw people get attacked, didn't you? Or there was a story about someone getting attacked? That's a
no.
little different than someone making a joke or some off color. or March, don't you
No,
think?
it wasn't off color. It was like an 18-year-old girl talking about how she felt towards everybody, all these other countries,
You can find an
all these
18-year-old
people that
girl in
lived
any
around
country
them.
that says something crazy. That doesn't mean anything.
Well,
You
she was flanked by a ton of other Israelis that were all around
you can
with
find 10
them.
18-year-olds in any country that will say some stupid shit, including this country. I don't know what that has to do with anything. You just said that you actively saw a video or some
Well,
report of people getting beaten up, and then you changed it to some 18-year-old made a joke or something. That's completely different, don't you think?
Well, what it comes down to is, I don't think we should be in the Middle East, and I don't think that our outpost, our foreign facade that allows us to carry out atrocities in the Middle East, I don't think that that should be allowed to exist. Which it only exists so that America or our politicians can do, and they can attack, they can do atrocities, do whatever they want, and they do it under the guise of Israel. Everybody thinks it's Israel doing it, but it's not. It's really us that is doing it. That's why our armies are converged. That's why
Our armies are not converged. That's a crazy statement.
okay, never mind about that. But that's
Where'd you
why
get that
we're
idea?
attached at the it doesn't matter. That's why we're attached at the hip with Israel, and it seems like ridiculous. Why are we being like led by the nose by 9 million people? Like, why have we fought all, like, we really, what other reason do we have to be in the Middle East if it wasn't for
You
Israel?
think we started to enter into the Middle East when Israel? We've been in the Middle East for 100 years,
Yeah,
way
no,
before
you're
Israel
right.
existed.
No, I'm talking about wars. We've sort of kind
We
of owned the Middle East since World
What
War
are you
II.
talking about? We were in the Middle East under Thomas Jefferson. We were in the Middle East before
Oh,
Israel even existed.
talking about the Barbary pirates. No, I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
with outposts, with bases,
we've been involved
fighting
all over.
wars
We've been involved all in wars all over the world for over 100 years. In the
over
Philippines, in
things
Latin
that actually
America.
affected us.
What's that?
I said over strategic strategic situations, stuff that benefited us. What benefits us about desert?
Okay, well, just to play devil's advocate, although I don't think this is why we're in the Middle East, but there's something called oil and gas as well. It's not just quote unquote desert. That's not why we're there, by the way. But if that was something
I agree.
valuable,
I
if that
agree.
was
That's
something
not why we're
valuable,
there.
that would be that, right? If
I
that
agree
was
with you. That isn't why we're there.
yeah. But if that would be that would be it. It wouldn't be the fact that it's quote unquote deserts that we're interested in, right? Anyway, I
Was
think Becton was talking about trying to. By the way, I don't know if we could do this, Becton. If anyone in the chat wants to ask questions or anything, I'm happy to do that as well. I saw someone that said the Chinese are not our friends. I agree. Chinese are not our friends. They never will be, and we have serious divergence with them on a lot of issues, as opposed to Israel, by the way, where the same enemies that attack Israel also shout death to America, attack us, kill our soldiers.
when did they do that? When?
Do what?
And when have you ever seen anybody in the Middle East chant death to America? Because I've never seen it.
You want to send a link right now? I don't. There's so many examples.
I know that they chanted it in the 70s when after we had overthrown Mossadegh and installed a puppet, and
That
then
was
when
in the
they
50s.
overthrew, well, yeah, that was in the 50s. But what I'm saying is, in the 70s, they overthrew our puppet. They saw, we were basically at war with them and attacking their country, or we were controlling their country with a puppet. They didn't like that, so they ended that. But since then, since 1990, when has Iran? I've never seen it, and when have they ever done anything to hurt us? It seems like we've done is hurt them. We bombed them in June of last year. We have killed multiple of their negotiators. Every time it's like we trick them into coming to negotiate with us, and then we murder them. We murder all the people that come and negotiate with us. Or, we say, oh yeah, we want to cut a deal with you guys. And then as soon as they say, okay, well, we'll talk about it, we murder their leader. We
How do I
literally
put something in the
murder their
chat?
leader.
How do I put a link in the chat? Anyway, whatever. Anyone can search it up. It's no problem. I found it within 10 seconds. They're frequently chanting death to America. Not only that, they're acting on it. They are literally the sponsors of terrorist groups that have killed hundreds of Americans. So when you say that they've never laid a finger on us, that's a empirical claim which can be proven or disproven, and it's wrong. It's just wrong, flat out.
Well, I mean, I haven't really seen all of this, the attacks and all of the different
Trump
ways
said
that
it, right?
I mean,
President Trump said
I
it. You
don't
said you
I
voted
don't
for it. He
believe
said
it.
it.
I still don't believe it just because Trump said it, because I haven't seen I've never met an Iranian that had a problem with me or that had a problem with America. I've never met them. Never. My dad works for a Persian. I never met one that had a problem with us.
I never said
Honestly.
that the ones in America have a problem with us.
No, I'm saying
How about the
period.
government? The government.
I've never,
Yeah.
eh,
But
I've
your
never seen.
empirical experiences have nothing to do with the
But
overall reality, right?
where is it that, I have not seen any aggression from Iran towards us. In fact, they didn't even retaliate when we bombed their nuclear sites. They didn't even retaliate.
They killed 12 Americans.
No, I'm saying last June when we bombed their Isfahan. They didn't respond. Not only did we bomb them with those however many bombs that Trump sent in with the B-2 Spirit bombers, but Israel also carried out huge bombing raids and killed thousands of their people, and they did nothing in response. They kept they they didn't retaliate. Well, but for some reason, Egypt, they're constantly attacked, and they actually have restraint. It's
Who's
Egypt, or
constantly
not
attacking
Egypt. It's
Egypt?
Israel. No, I misspoke. I meant Israel. Israel is constantly attacking all kinds of people in the Middle East,
Like who?
and like Iran, for one. Did Marco Rubio came out and said they were going to do it, and if we were going to get attacked if we didn't go
They
in.
launched hundreds of missiles at Israel last year.
When? And like when? Like I said, when we bomb them, we bomb their nuclear
April
sites.
14th, 2024.
Yeah, because Israel was running bombing raids on them, and then in June we bombed them. We blew up all. Did Israel bomb them with us in June?
We're talking about before. I'm talking about before that. Look up Operation True Promise 1.
But did they help?
They didn't
Did
do
they
anything.
bomb?
They didn't do
Did they?
anything.
No,
it was April 2024.
They didn't bomb them with what was it called?
They didn't bomb them at all. They didn't. This is
No,
before Israel did anything.
I'm saying, what was the military operation called when we attacked their nuclear sites? I forget.
Midnight
Epic
Hammer.
Fury,
Midnight Hammer. But the
Israelis bombed. They did a huge bombing campaign.
That's a year after the attack that I'm referring to, which completely came unprovoked.
How do you know it was unprovoked?
It wasn't totally unprovoked. I believe the Israelis attacked. It was very unproportional response. Let's say that, because I think the Israelis attacked a consulate in Syria, right? It was in Damascus.
Well,
and then the Iranians.
Yeah. It was a building that they used that they were plotting terrorists. They were working with Hezbollah to plot terrorist attacks out of that.
We may as well just stop talking about this now, because he can't prove that they were plotting anything out of any buildings.
Even if you say that they hit a consulate somewhere,
there's some stuff that I can't prove too. So I mean, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, but they hit a consular building in Syria, not Iran. A couple people died, and then Iran responded with hundreds of missiles. So whether you want to say that was a pretext or not,
they are
totally
they're allied with those people they're allied with them, same as we're allied with Israel. That's not unprovoked. And it's the same thing with this nuclear or this stupid ceasefire that those people alone. Hence the reason why we can't get a deal. Are you going to pretend that that's not happening? That it's not Israel that won't allow it to happen? Every time
your audio cut out a little
Trump
bit.
makes that.
Yeah,
Trump
I
makes
didn't hear all that.
He cuts a deal with Iran, and then Israel scuttles the deal. That's what they've been doing.
The deal's still on it's still in place.
Okay.
Is it not?
I mean, they've been. It's like March, man, and I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen any ceasefire.
Ceasefire right now.
But they haven't completed. We keep hearing how, it's complete, it's complete, it's complete. the markets jumping up and down, but it never gets completed. It always gets scuttled. Always
Nothing's
it
happening.
gets dashed.
There's no fighting right now.
Then why isn't the deal complete?
It is. No one. Israel didn't scuttle it like you said. It's still in effect.
Okay.
The point is, at the end of the day, a lot of what you've been told about Israel is wrong. A lot of who said okay. Someone in the chat is saying, "Are they Jewish?" I am Jewish, but the fact is, everything I said is either true or false. There's nothing to do with my background. So, anyway, I don't know, Becton, if you want to jump to the next thing.
No, I wanted to let you guys kind of wrap up. If you guys each want to take like 60 seconds, kind of wrap up your thoughts here. No responses, just like each of you kind of
Yeah,
tie it all
JT,
together. What you're
go
saying.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like things aren't what we're being told they are. It seems to me like the only people that really seem to be sticking in our craw or making any trouble, it seems to be the Israelis. And as far as I can tell, we don't have any problems with China. We don't have any reason to go to war with China or to fight China. They want to do business with us, and we want to do business with them. That's how I see it. We're just kind of doing business together. And when it comes to Israel, they seem to not want to do what we tell them to do. They start wars like the Iran war. They started that without us. They forced our hand, as Rubio said. They forced our hand.
Not what Trump's.
Then why did Rubio say it? Our literally our Secretary of State says something, and we're just supposed to disregard it. Oh, he just misspoke. He's an idiot. Oh, really? The Secretary of
The
State,
president
the
contradicted it.
Secretary of State, the second in command, basically. Oh, like he knows more about what's going on than the Vice President. He just misspoke. The guy he's been in the government, high up senator for like 30 years. He just misspoke, I guess. And yeah, it just seems kind of fishy to me. And Iran, they're literally responding. They're defending themselves. We attack them viciously, kill schools full of little girls, blow these plates, just go ham on them. And then they're supposed to allow that to happen. Like when we attack them, all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, we didn't think this would happen. And it's like, you didn't think that Iran would defend themselves? You didn't think Iran would respond? You're literally, you murdered their upper echelon of their government. You murdered their leader. And then you bombed you think the people love America while you're murdering their children. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We're getting and we're getting dragged into it by this little mouse fart of a country in the middle of the desert. I don't. I think we have this is a lot bigger of a problem than China ever was. Like, bro, and the only time China was ever a problem with us was when we started a war with their ally. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
No, I don't need. I don't even need the full minute, Becton. It's very simple. The government of Iran hates our guts. You, JT, and me, and you, Becton, all of us. They want us gone. They've been launching attacks through their terrorist proxies on our American soldiers for decades. They killed hundreds of them. They've killed probably over 1,000 of them, and they are building nuclear weapons and missiles to launch those nuclear weapons. Simple fact. If you dispute that, I can't. Nothing I can say will change your mind at that point. But it's the findings of all of our intelligence communities in the West.
What about the IAEA? They have said that Iran was in
I thought
compliance
we
with the
weren't supposed
deal.
to interrupt her in these closing remarks here. What about the IAEA?
Nothing. Continue.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
The
Continue.
IAEA found that Iran was secretly enriching uranium to weapons grade.
Okay.
They did. They did. Someone in the comments is saying that what I'm saying are lies. Identify the lie. That's all I could say. Show me the lie, and we can go from there.
I mean, it's like, you present your facts, I present my facts. They just, it's like
You haven't presented any facts.
yeah, I guess.
There we go. Well, yeah, thanks for that, guys. I know we had a lot of spirited debate and a lot of different thoughts on that. We'd love to have you back sometime in the future. Maybe we could make this into a full topic, get a little more preparation. Happy to really share sources and really dig into it. But I wanted to kind of move on. We're getting towards the kind of the closing moments here. Today is July 5th. Hope everyone had a great Independence weekend. And, that means America is now 250 years old as measured by the Declaration of Independence. And also, depending on how you measure it, it's one of the oldest nations in the world if you measure that by government continuity. So I really wanted to pose a question to you two, and then I actually might give my thoughts on this too, even though I don't usually do that. As to, America's 250, what are your thoughts for how the country is looking like going forwards? What are you concerned about? What are you optimistic about? And what do you think it will take for America to survive and thrive another 250 years? And if you want, Truth, you can go first so JT can end, because you got to end
That'd be
last
great.
time.
I do want to say I have about a 5-minute window or so now. So I'll try to be very brief. All I can say is I'm against foreign influence, malign foreign influence on our government, much as JT is. I don't want the Chinese coming in here telling us what to do. I don't want the Qataris coming in here telling us what to do. I don't want the Israelis coming in here and telling us what to do. And I want, I'm an American born and raised, and I want our country to continue on the path, or get back on the path, maybe more accurately, of being a sovereign nation, not letting millions of people flow into our country, not letting billions of dollars influence the direction of our country. And I think there's some hope for that. There's some reason to be concerned that may not happen, but my hope is for a return to our founding values in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One more thing.
Oh,
The people in the comments that want to say they would destroy me in a debate, let's make it happen, Becton.
I think they're talking to each other.
Anyone, everyone can. Not worried about that.
Anywho, yeah, honestly, I think, like right now we're just kind of we're going through a lot of social issues, I feel like, and we've just kind of gotten out of a kind of a nasty era with like, cancellation, people being canceled and woke and all this tomfoolery, absurdities, like all the stuff that's been going on. And it seems like the worm is turning, at least to me. That's kind of where I see hope is, people, there are those of us out there that see what's wrong and the problems, and, and we actually have a voice to speak about it and to, hash it out in the public square. So, that kind of gives me hope, to be honest. Like just the fact that, people the stuff can get to light, can get to the public's eyes, which is, it didn't used to be that way. It's like, really all we had to go on was what we were being told by our media, which I'm sure you'll agree with me. They're very corrupt. They're very crooked. And I would submit that our politicians equally corrupt, equally as crooked. And, finally, we don't have to rely on them. Like, remember with TikTok and Gaza, we didn't have to rely on our government. We could see it with our own eyes. We could see what was being done in our name, with our money, our tax dollars. We could see that, and gave us the voice to do something about it. It was through social media and online. So I'm rather hopeful about that. And YouTube seems to have gotten pretty lenient on censorship, as well. It seems like the environment, the social environment that we have currently, the virtual environment, it just seems to be a lot more open. And when things are open, the more open things are, the better, our future is, and uh, the better that we can adapt and handle with new problems, and come to consensus and solutions. Find solutions through. Um, but that's kind of what gives me hope, is that we can actually have these conversations.
I'm
Okay.
definitely biased, but I've got to agree. I think having conversations, dialogue is really important. And of course, I might be biased, but I think the venue which you do that in, and it's actually meant for politics, is also very important. I wanted to thank you guys for that. Like I said before, I normally don't offer my opinions up, but I think since it's America's 250th, I kind of want to take a stab at my own question real quick. I come from an independent perspective, but I just do want to say nothing I say, represents, the actual views of Povey. So I have to say, I think America is facing a lot of challenges right now. I think, especially from foreign influence and national security threats, right, such as China and the Middle East. I also think in terms of some kind of economic challenges, especially with over the next decade or two with our debt, as to how that is going to become clear that is unsustainable. I also think that corporate money in politics is going to face a big challenge and is contributing to probably the biggest challenge that I see for the U.S., which is that the increasing polarization and kind of people really drifting ever farther and farther apart from each other politically to where they really can't relate to each other at all. And these are huge problems, right, that really do threaten the fabric of the country. But I do see some good progress being made on some of them. I see reindustrialization. It's not really happening on a large scale yet, but it's started. And there's a big movement and there's people that are committed to making it happen. There's also a lot of people that are more committed than ever to trying to reduce polarization and bring people together. And I think that, while we can't ignore the debt, I do think that America's path to maintaining dollar hegemony over the world, which for better or worse, is probably the way that we're going to kind of get ourselves out of that, even though we might kind of take the rest of the world's economies down with us. So that's kind of where I see things going. Of course, I think the biggest asset to our country, and I think the reason why, if America survives another 250 years, I think the reason why is because of our willingness to fail and to not look dumb when doing things. I think it's people's willingness to try new things, to build new businesses, to build ambitious nonprofits, to build great ideas. I think that is America's strength, and the reason that we're willing to do that will probably define those next 250 years. So
Definitely.
anyway, I wanted to thank the two of you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure getting into it tonight. I really think we kind of proved out our thesis that being on both on the same side, there are things that you really agree about, and then there are things that people really differ about, right? No side is the monolith. So appreciate you coming on. Everybody, I would encourage you to check out povey.tv if you're looking, for that great place to conduct politics. Like I said, we'll be going live in a couple weeks, and we'll be hosting great conversations like this every single week. And we'll hopefully see you two back on here again soon.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank y'all. And everyone, have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time.